Okay. Now, why we said that the bottom point of the Aleph is properly written as a Yud in order to round out the composite form of the Aleph, there is one exception according to the masters of Kabbalah of Jewish mysticism. They say that when writing the sections of Tefillin, when you write the Aleph, the bottom point should not be a Yud. Rather, it should be written as an upside down Dalet, which would look something like this. Now, although this looks very similar to what we had before, the difference is that you have a heel here on the back. Now, the Dalet, as we know, is written like this. With this heel here on the back to help us distinguish it from the Resh. Here's the heel, you just flip it upside down, there's your Dalet. Now, although technically this is only the custom in Tefillin, it's nevertheless become the practice of all those who follow the customs of the Arizal and the other Kabbalistic scholars to always write either Torah scrolls, Megillah, it doesn't matter. If you follow the customs of the Kabbalistic scholars, then you always write the Aleph this way, regardless of what it is that you're writing. Now, most Ashkenaz Jews, however, do not follow the customs of the Arizal at all, and they simply write it as a Yud for everything, whether they're writing Torah scrolls, Megillah, it doesn't matter. It's always written as a Yud. So when it's written like this, as a regular Yud, that's referred to as Ksav Beis Yosef, the script according to the Beis Yosef. And when it's written with a heel here at the back, making it an upside down Dalet instead of a Yud, then it's referred to as an Aleph according to the Ksav Ari, to the script of the Arizal, the great master of Kabbalah. Okay? Now another remark here about the top Yud. We mentioned that the Osios de Rabbi Akiva, the Aleph Besa, tells us that the top Yud should be facing upward, inclined, tilted, so that it's gazing upward at HaKadosh Baruch Hu, at the Holy One, at God. This is another way in which the letter Aleph testifies to the unity, to the oneness of Hashem. But what would be the case if we were to reverse that Yud so that it was pointing downward? In that situation, would our Aleph still be a kosher letter? Well, let's first look at it according to the composite form. It still has a Yud, albeit it's a Yud facing the wrong direction, and it still has a Vav in the middle. So according to the composite form, it may still be kosher, even though the letters are not oriented properly. According to the fundamental form, we don't have a problem, because we still have a dividing line in the middle, with two projecting lines, each of which has a head. So really, this is considered kosher. However, the commentaries explain that it is better, if you can correct this, it should be corrected. And it should be turned so that it's facing the proper direction. If you can't correct it, meaning like, for example, if you have a Torah scroll where all of the Alephs are written like that, where it's too hard to go through and correct the whole thing, then you can leave the letter as it is, and it's still considered a kosher Aleph. But initially, it's a good idea to correct it. Alright? Last thing is, while we mentioned that the upper Yud and the lower Yud, let me get this back to Ksav Beis Yosef, there we go, have to connect either by the top point if it's the bottom Yud, or the bottom point if it's the top Yud. I want to make it very clear that that's the only place where it should connect. Meaning that what happens if you have a little thread of ink connecting right there like that? Or what happens if the bottom leg somehow bangs into the body of the Aleph, like that? In either of those cases, if you happen to find an Aleph that has connections like that, you need to find a professional sofer and have them take a look at it, because it definitely spoils the fundamental form of the letter, and arguably even the composite form of the letter. And in Tefillin and Mezuzos, it's very, very tricky to correct this. In Torah scrolls, it can also be very tricky. And if it puzzles the letter, renders the letter invalid, it could render whatever the writing is, the entire Torah scroll, or the entire Tefillin, or the entire Mezuzos, invalid. So in this case, ask a sofer. Now, the other situation in which you may want to consult a sofer, and always look for these things, by the way, when you're buying tefillin and mezuzahs. Always look to see if the letters are connected, if the composite parts of the letter are touching in ways they're not supposed to be. If you happen to also find a letter that's written, but there's a break where the parts of the letter are supposed to be touching. For example, one of the heads, one of the points of the aleph is disconnected, like that, or like that. Or if there's a break in the body of the aleph, like that. Anytime you find anything like that, you have to go ask a sofer and have them take a look at it. In very limited circumstances, this can be corrected in tefillin and mezuzos. And very limited, I mean very limited. Normally, a break in the letter would completely invalidate a set of tefillin or a mezuzah. In Torah scrolls, this can pretty much always be corrected. But anytime you find breaks, you need to go ask a professional sofer. Alright? So that's about it for the aleph. Tune in next time, and we'll take a look at the letter Beis.